It's 2 in the morning. Something is bothering you. Something you can't quite name, but you can't put down either. You could call your best friend. You know their number by heart. But instead, you open your phone and start typing to an AI. And strangely, you feel more comfortable telling a machine the truth than telling a human being. Why? Some of you will say this doesn't happen to you. And some of you will say it happens more often than you'd like to admit. This episode is for both of you. We're not going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about what the technology reveals about us, about judgment, about rejection, about loneliness that lives inside a full calendar, and about the difference between being heard and being truly known. Let me tell you about Arjun. Arjun is 29. He has friends, coworkers who laugh at his jokes, a girlfriend who texts him every night and asks him how his day was, and means it. From the outside, his life looks normal, maybe even a little better than normal. But here's what no one can see. Every time something deeply personal happens, Arjun does the same thing. He opens a chat window, not to a person, to an AI. And there, in the dark, he tells it the things no human being has ever heard. He tells it about his fears, the one that before every important thing in life, a small voice says, "You're gonna fail, and everyone will realize you're just average." He tells it about his jealousy. That one time his girlfriend laughed at a friend's joke harder than she ever laughs at his. He felt it like a small wound, and he hated himself for feeling it. He tells it about his relationship, the quiet distance that grows when you stop saying the true things and start saying only the safe things. He tells it about his failures, the year he didn't live up to the version of himself his family expects, and the version he expects of himself. And here's the important part. He has never told any of this to a single human being. Not his best friend, not his girlfriend, not his family, not at 2 in the morning, not at a party, not in a car. Everything stays inside him, except when it goes into that chat window. There was one night he almost crossed over. He was sitting on the edge of his bed. His girlfriend was asleep 2 meters away. He had a sentence ready in his head. "I don't know if I'm enough." He typed it into the chat window first, read the response, felt a little lighter. Then he closed the phone, put it on the nightstand, and said nothing. The sentence went into the machine, and for that night, the machine was enough. And somehow, that made it worse. At first, Arjun thought this meant he was weird, maybe a little broken. Then one night, around 1 in the morning, in the middle of a conversation with the machine, he stopped, and he realized something uncomfortable. I'm not talking to this thing because I love technology. I'm talking to this thing because I'm afraid of people. And that realization hit him harder than anything the machine could have said. Because a machine can't comfort you. It has no arms, no history, no skin in the game. It can only reflect you. And in that reflection, he saw his own loneliness staring back at him. So let's step back from Arjun's story for a moment, because what just happened to him is happening to millions of people, in silence. Why does a chat window feel safer than a human being? Let's look at what's missing in that conversation. There's no facial expression. When you say something painful, no one's face shifts. Not even slightly. No one's eyes flicker away for half a second, the way they do when they're trying not to show what they think. There's no awkward silence. In human conversations, the worst thing is rarely what someone says. It's the pause before they say it. That silence where you can feel the judgment forming. There's no visible disappointment. There's no fear that someone will interrupt you, change the topic, or say, "That's not what I meant." Or worse, "I don't see why that's a problem." And there's no immediate consequence. What you say at 2 in the morning stays in that conversation. It doesn't follow you into the kitchen the next morning.
It doesn't wait for you at the office. And most importantly, you control everything.
You control when the conversation starts. You control when it ends. You can rewrite the sentence. You can delete it. You can say the thing you've been holding back for a month. And if it feels wrong, you can take it back. Do you see what that gives you? A feeling of emotional control. In human relationships, you rarely have that. You open your mouth and you don't know what comes back. You give someone a piece of yourself and it's no longer fully yours. But with a machine, the only thing that comes back is what you already put in. It becomes the safest place to test a truth before you take it into the real world. Not to escape from people, to practice being honest in a place where honesty can't cost you anything. Now, let's go deeper, because the psychology here is much more interesting than people prefer machines. It starts with something almost everyone knows in their body, the fear of judgment. Human beings are wired to be read. Every word that comes out of your mouth is scanned by someone else. And the scan isn't really about your words. It's about you. Is he okay? Is she stable? Can I trust this? Where do they stand? And right next to judgment sits rejection. Because if someone knows the real you, the jealous you, the uncertain you, the version you're ashamed of, they might decide you're not who they thought you were. That's what vulnerability really is. It's not bravery. It's the risk of being seen in your least attractive form. That's why people hide their true personality so skillfully. The outer life runs on smooth, safe, low-stakes conversation. Weather, work, memes. The inner life, the real one, stays locked up. And people grow up believing that the inner life is something to be hidden, not shared. And that's when avoidance sneaks in. Not just avoidance of people, avoidance of uncomfortable conversations, the hard ones, the ones where the truth could change the relationship. So we avoid the conversation, and the distance grows, and we tell ourselves it's fine. And loneliness loves that gap. For people with social anxiety, this isn't a theory. It's a daily experience. Every gathering is a performance they have to run on a low battery. And when the battery dies, at home, at 2 a.m, the chat window isn't a choice. It's the only room left where they don't have to perform. Here's the cruel part. You can have a full life, friends, family, a partner, and still be lonely. Because the version of you that matters most isn't in the room. You're in the room, but not you. There's a reason Arjun told the AI about his jealousy, but never told his girlfriend. Not because he doesn't love her, but because jealousy is an ugly confession. It says, I'm not secure. And people are so afraid of being seen as not secure that they'd rather carry the weight alone, quietly, where no one can find them. But here's the thing about needing validation. Sometimes it's not advice you want at all. When a person is hurting, advice is often the wrong medicine. Have you tried talking to her? You should be more confident. These words sound helpful, but what they really do is close the door. What you actually want is for someone to stay inside the discomfort with you, to say, that makes sense, and mean it, to not try to fix anything. Arjun didn't actually need an answer. He needed a place where he could finish his sentence without feeling ashamed of what came after it. And a machine, strangely, is perfect at exactly that. It doesn't rush you. It doesn't get bored. It doesn't quietly decide you're too much. But now let's change the question. Because we've been asking, why do people talk to AI? And that's not really the right question. The right question is, what does it say about the way we treat each other? Think about it for a second. We have built a machine that never interrupts, never judges, never gets tired of you. And millions of people are turning to it to do the one thing other humans were supposed to do. Listen. Maybe the real problem isn't that people discovered a machine that listens. Maybe the real problem is that a lot of people have stopped feeling safe enough to be honest with other humans. We live in a culture of impressions, profiles,
edited moments, curated confidence.
And somewhere along the way, honesty started to feel like a risk you could only take with things that can't leave, can't be embarrassed, can't tell anyone. And the saddest part? The people who would be safest to be honest with, the ones who've known you the longest, are often the last ones we tell. Because the more someone knows you, the more you have to lose when you're finally seen. Now, think about what a machine actually gives you. It's not intimacy. It's the absence of history. It doesn't know who you were last Tuesday. It has no memory of your old excuses, your old lies, your worst version. Every conversation starts from zero. No old score, no old evidence. Most of us have been heard plenty in our lives. Known? Rarely. And for some people, that blankness, that listener who can't hold a grudge because it has no past, is the closest thing to safety they've ever had. That's the paradox of this moment in history. A machine can give you a space without judgment, but human connection requires something much harder. Two imperfect people allowing themselves to be seen. One machine 1,000 times with zero cost. Two humans, only once, and only if you both decide to risk it. And if we keep outsourcing honesty to algorithms, something quietly gets lost. Not just privacy, not just time. The muscle that makes us human. The ability to say a hard thing to another person and survive the silence that follows. That's why this isn't really an AI topic. This is a modern loneliness topic. The machine is just the mirror. So what should you do? First, nothing dramatic. AI is not the enemy. It's a tool, a place to think things through before you say them. A 2 a.m. notebook that answers back. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem only shows up when the tool becomes the whole life. So if you catch yourself choosing a chat window over a person you trust, especially the one who would stay with you, don't shame yourself. Just ask 4 questions. 1. What am I afraid this person will think? Say it out loud. Usually the fear is bigger than the fact, and you'll often find out that the disaster you imagined was mostly a story you told yourself. 2. What would actually happen if I told them the truth? Not what might happen. What would actually happen? In most healthy relationships, the answer is quiet. A pause. Thank you for telling me. 3. Am I looking for advice, or do I just want to be heard? These are 2 completely different needs, and most misunderstandings in close relationships start because one person is pouring out and the other person is trying to fix. 4. Who is one person I could slowly become more honest with? Not everyone, not your whole life story. One person. And start small. You don't have to go from silence to full vulnerability overnight. The goal isn't to suddenly lay yourself open to the world. The goal is to say one small, true thing to a human being this week. And notice that the sky didn't fall. Then do it again. That's how you rebuild the trust. Not with the machine. In yourself. Let's go back to Arjun. Because I think he's like a lot of us. Months after that 1 a.m. realization, he did something small. He told his best friend one true thing. Just one. About his fear of being average. The friend was quiet for a second. And then he said, "Yeah, I was thinking the same thing." That was it. That was the whole moment. And Arjun realized the machine had never once said anything like that. Not because the machine was bad. Because the machine was never there. Maybe the strange thing isn't that we can tell a machine what we cannot tell a person. Maybe the strange thing is that so many of us have become so afraid of being misunderstood that silence feels safer than connection. And perhaps the answer isn't to stop talking to machines. Perhaps the answer is to slowly build relationships where we don't have to hide from the humans around us. Because the safest conversation may not be the one where nobody can judge you. It may be the one where someone knows the real you and chooses to stay.